It's okay not to feel okay. Welcome back. My name is Tilman Porschütz. You're listening to Aesthetical Therapy, the podcast. It's accompanying my blog. This week, I'm not having an original blog post for this because I was invited to this amazing panel talk called Res.Radio, the local community radio from Vienna. And so basically in this panel talk, the question was, what is community radio about? Why does it matter? And how does it work? I was able to speak with two amazing people, Mena Huber, who's an organizer of part of this collective called Fast+Nice, and also curating other shows at various radio stations and in the local club scene, as well as Miyra Lim, who is also very talented and very quite like omnipresent figure at the moment in the Viennese underground scene, coming from the 21st district and totally diving into this whole thing, and even has her own like appearances on FM4 on the what should I call it? You call it the National Youth Channel of the National Radio, something like this. So we met up last week or the week before. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's like, what does it say? 24th of January. So that's like 2 weeks ago. Anyway, the broadcast is online now. You can listen to it on Res.Radio on this website, on SoundCloud, or you can listen to it right here, because I'm just going to attach it to this small introduction. I'll be back to you. I'll be coming back to you with original story. I think potentially after the weekend, I'm having a small short story, some fiction ready for you about sort of an underground resistance group that is trying to hide in Gaza, or not hide in Gaza, but actually become a human shield, and also is involved into some hacking activities and data activism. So this is going to be a very controversial show, but I think it's fun to, take it on the fictionist side, because this whole story over there it's just too insane to comprehend the suffering and the misinformation on all sides, the radicalization and this pure stupidity of like a prime example of human stupidity played out in front of our eyes and with no one responding really. So you'll see my take on it in a short story. Nevertheless, now let's go to radio and talk a bit more general about what radio is and why we like it.
Welcome everybody here at our Vereinslokal of Res.Radio, and also welcome everybody on the internet listening to us right now. My name is Mena Huber. I am very glad to be invited today to host this little discussion. I have also been part of Res.Radio community for a long time. I am doing a radio show with Fast+Nice Collective rather regularly. So I have also a little bit insights from that. I also host parties with Fast+Nice, and altogether I'm very interested in the Vienna arts and culture scene. So I'm, of course, not alone, even if from my talking now you could think so. I would like to have my guests introduce themselves. Thank you so much for coming, Tilman Porschütz and Miyra Lim. Let us know, who are you, what are you doing here, and what's your background, maybe a little bit.
Okay, hi. Hi, everyone. So my name is Tilman, a.k.a. Mandy Mozart, and I am, I guess I'm here as the Tech Pro representative, which is maybe something I want to deconstruct in the process. But my background is I am a musician and artist, and also I develop software, and I've been into like radio has been one of my sort of passions since uni. Studying at Bauhaus University, and they had a FM frequency they could broadcast on. And at that time, in around 2006, there was a big scene of internet, net labels, and also web radios that popped up during the 90s and 2000s. And so we started experimenting with the possibilities of self-publishing through a label with a bunch of friends and colleagues. About like how to build your own servers, how to DIY your way into places where you are not allowed to, or which you are not allowed to broadcast on, because this FM broadcasting is sort of a different thing. I will talk about this stuff later on. Yes, so I'm very happy to be here because, yes, again, as a tech bro, you get a lot of voice anyway. So I was surprised to be invited.
Maybe you also doing a show on Res.Radio, or what's your involvement? Maybe that's interesting.
I dropped into Res.Radio through our association, which was called Vienna Struggle, or is called Vienna Struggle. And we were broadcasting on streams during COVID, and then somehow at some point one of our colleagues, Eva Perner, introduced us to Res. And should I put the anecdote here now? No. Okay, the anecdote comes later. So yeah, that's how. And I kind of host this Vienna Struggle show, which is kind of paused at the moment. And I also tried some experiment, which is called Movie Reactions. And somehow I ended up programming the website and the playback stuff.
Every community radio needs a tech bro.
Tech bro.
Who are you? Hi, Miyra.
Hello. I'm Miyra Lim, and I've been at Res.Radio the past 1.5 or 2 years. Initially, I joined through my collective Lo-Fi, because we are one of like the longest running shows here, I think. I was still at the last studio at Webgasse, where I would be invited to different shows, funny enough, and I wasn't actually an active member of Res yet. And then I think at some point I was Timon, another person from my collective who's not here unfortunately today, said he joined before me as an active member, and then I joined after him. And since then, we're pretty much involved in the team, if I may say. Yeah, and that's it.
Anything else about your background, or is there anything else you want to share besides your part of Res.Radio?
What else? Yeah, I'm known for having been DJing the past few years, especially in the house community. And I think a lot of the ethics or like the, values of the house community kind of is reflected in how we also do like the community here, as in like trying to all involve ourselves in some way from our own motivation, but also acknowledging the work that has been done before us. Kind of, I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but I think that's very important to say, because I feel like, especially in the world that we're in now, like post-COVID, I think there's this whole energy still of, oh, let's just do stuff from the get-go, but then you kind of acknowledge like people have been in this realm of community radio and like kind of doing this underground thing for way before I was born. Yeah.
It's cool, so you're fully aware of the history you're part of, sort of.
I hope I would be, but I definitely have a lot of blind spots. I 100% have a lot of blind spots.
Thanks for introducing yourself. We will hear a little bit more about the history of community radio in general later. But first and foremost, of course, I'd be interested in how, in the history of Res.Radio, when was it founded? What's the idea behind it? How did it all come together? I mean, you've been part of this for 1.5 years. Res.Radio goes back a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I also don't really know.
You're just a tech bro.
I'm just a tech bro. It's all bytes and data. I have no fucking idea.
All right.
O's and ones, doesn't matter.
Is Do you think somebody in the room is present who might be able to tell us a little bit more?
Here, founding person? Somewhere behind the bar, maybe behind the bar? Oh yeah, there you go. Hey, that was...
Yeah, it's a coincidence, but it was also a coincidence. Sorry,
Who the fuck are you?
I'm a human being who was co-founding the radio at some point in 2019. But I was not initiating it. I was just part of the first meetings, but I was more, I was not initiating it. But
so who are you?
I was there, and we were in some bar in the 7th district. I think that was the first meeting, and it was just like we did so a friend of mine and me, we had a DJ collective, and we were doing some events in Vienna, and so we had some idea that it would be cool to have something like a shared platform, a shared community through radio, as it was like already in many other cities. But in Vienna we had Radio Orange, but not like the Vienna community radio, just a web broadcasting stuff. And so we met up with people we knew and started about thinking the idea in some bar, and then this idea, in 2019, I don't know, maybe in spring 2019, then we were able to temporarily use the Wien Museum. There was some reconstruction there, and we were invited through some connections to launch our radio there without broadcasting it, but we were able to to start there. And then we had our first studio at the Villa Shapira. It's in the 18th district, an old historical building in Vienna, and we had some meetings there before we started broadcasting. So the idea was basically like we need a platform for shared ideas to bring together people from different backgrounds, to have a platform to do mistakes, learn from each other. It's a lot about mistakes, I think, but just to express yourself and see wherever it takes us. Shared creativity. So that was the idea, and then we started broadcasting from our first studio in Villa Shapira in the 18th district. We had a small room there in fall 2019, I think.
Live show. So, did you already have some funding when you could afford to rent a place?
No, we had some person who had something in his pocket, and he will give us the first to start. He gave us a little bit of money, but then when we started broadcasting, we started this structuring so everyone who is doing a show is also paying some Mitgliedsbeitrag, more or less, some membership fees, and also. So, but we started with just with 4 or 5 shows, and everyone who was involved in the funding, which was maybe about there were like 10 persons funding it, and the people started to monthly pay something to we opened a bank account for the radio, and then everybody wired some money to the Vereinskonto, thanks. And we also did some soft opening and a hard opening party, where we did like the bar ourselves, some kind. It was legal,
but still wild. It was donation-based.
Yeah, it was donation-based.
Nobody made any profit.
So we did 2 parties in some off spaces in Vienna, and there we gathered maybe 2,000 euros, and from that we bought some equipment and some stuff to start, and the rent, of course, in the villa was quite cheap, 150 euros or something like that. But
of course, if you just hear villa, it might sound more expensive to people who have never been there, but it was a very old villa. It was not a nice villa. It was very cold in there, and
cold like here. It was pre-inflation.
Yeah, but now speaking of the coldness in here, where are we right now? Because I think it's interesting to the people who are here for the first time, maybe to know what this place is. I don't know if you, anonymous founding human of this place, want to speak about the place here as well, or if any of you wants to explain where we are.
I could just say that we moved around a lot. So basically every year since our founding, we moved somewhere. So we started at Villa Shapira, and then we moved to the former Sophienspital. It was also some temporary use, some Zwischennutzung. And from after 1 year, we had to move out of Sophienspital because it's reconstructed. There are flats now. Also, the Villa Shapira, our first studio, was supposed to be reconstructed for flats, but we were there a couple of days ago. It's still the same. I don't know. But yeah, then we moved to an old Indian storage room, a storage room of an Indian restaurant, but they didn't need it anymore, so we rented it for 1 year. It was in Webgasse. We shared the space with some mice, and also some equipment broke because mice pissed on it, but it was.
Does the insurance cover that? Has anybody bothered to care?
We had an insurance after that, yeah. So yeah, that was. And yeah, after the Webgasse, we moved here, and we made an open call. We knew we need a new migrating. The space is called Migrating Kitchen. It's run by an association called Bohème. They are cultural workers doing a lot of food sharing events as well. And they said they have a room for us here left because one of the guys running Bohème was doing a show at Res at some point. And yeah, so he saw our open call for a space. And Letzte Generation was in this room before us. They moved out, and now we are here and taking over until I think the construction site out there is finished, and then we will move on, I guess, again.
Has noise or loud sounds been an issue in the past? Or is that why you mentioned the construction site right now? Or why did you mention
it was
the
cool in
site?
Sophienspital. It was we were able to be quite loud, and at Villa Shapira there were neighbors. It was not so easy. And at Webgasse we were basically in a building where people were actually living, so it was really hard to broadcast from there. But here it's cool. Yeah, we can be a little bit loud till 12.
Perfect. That also gives a little frame for here. But of course, after this event, you also have another event at Celeste. I think that is important to say. Thank you so much for giving this introduction. So now we are here, and you also got this huge shift funding, and I'm interested, or I think all of us are interested in how does this community radio station work in practice. I know it's a difficult question. I'm also a little part of this with my show. I know we have to either decide if we want to do a pre-production or if we want to do it live. Then either we have to send a sound file on time to the organizers so they can put it into some magical sort of online playlist. I have no idea about that. That's a blind spot for me.
Only the ghost knows.
Yeah, or you come here and one of the lovely Res people
I actually know.
will host the studio and help you through the show. So we've always managed to make it very easy and very accessible for everybody who wants to do a show here.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the beauties of community radio, because like everyone who's kind of committed to start working in this like non-profit sort of concept will at some point see there's a need for something and then chip in. So I guess a lot of the radio hosts would at some point just like say, hey, I can also take a shift on Sunday or Saturday or no, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then just like be here for studio care. I think it's also a big opportunity, as I've observed it, for people that start with any sort of electronic devices, doing music or playing music, or talking or podcasting. They come here and they kind of learn from others or help others to do their shows. I think this exchange is really important. I think that's also what's motivated me, like to sort of pass on tech bro knowledge.
The sharing of knowledge, yeah. And you were just mentioning the hours when you are broadcasting. Can you speak a little bit about that?
So our live shows are from Tuesday till Thursday, always as of 5 p.m., I think, 4 or 5 p.m., but then sometimes they're also later, depending on if the people are handing in shows or coming to the radio. And what else? We have like a 24/7 rotation playlist where all the previous recorded shows are being repeated. So you can always log in, I guess, tune in. That's the word, tune in. Twist that knob on your laptop or your phone. Oh, also important, if you do that, and the music suddenly stops, just refresh the show, because at the end of the day, this is what did you call it? A techno-punk? It's a voluntary project, and like it sometimes has like bugs going on. Just like be gentle with us.
And refresh the page.
Refresh the freaking page. It's just an enter button.
All right. So, but in fact, that means the listeners will always hear something when they tune in to Res Radio, but
or not, or it's like
or not. But they will only hear recent live or not live program Tuesdays to Thursdays from 5 p.m. on.
Yeah, and then the rest of the week you can also still listen to past shows, or you follow us on SoundCloud.
Great, yeah. I was also mentioning you also have a SoundCloud where all of the shows are uploaded later, and also an Instagram that you use for promotion, obviously. So these are somehow the things one can hear from the outside. How is it on the inside? Is there a big collective that is structured in a very strict way, that has meetings that are very regular? Or do you just, I don't know, go with the flow and see what's coming up?
I think it's more the latter, and I think everyone has a different view on like urgency, which is on the one hand pretty cool, because like you don't have to kind of be aware of everything. But I think the bigger problem we have is, or the struggles we're dealing with, is just that we don't have enough volunteers. I guess I think that's like the thing of like people falling out of the system, because then at the end of the day, it's just like one or two people having to deal with a problem.
So is this, sorry to interrupt you, is this also a call for people who are interested to come join the team?
Yes, please send us a DM or an email with maybe a motivational letter or something, and we're passed by. Because I think it's also important to, so this is a big thing of like, this is still like, I don't want to say a family thing, but I think it's cool if everyone is kind of on the same page. It's definitely harder to work with people who are not ready also to kind of hand over, that's the wrong word, but I think if everyone comes in, and myself as well, like everyone comes in with their own intention, and then they're realizing, oh, this is actually a community project. So I think it would, for the future as well, like I think it would be cool if we just like get to know the people first, and then maybe let them volunteer here and there, and then see if it works on the long run. But then on the other hand, we're also very low-key about things. Like if you decide to leave tomorrow because you have other plans for yourself, that's also cool. We're always sad about it, but so like I think that's like the whole thing, that it's really cool that it's so open to everyone kind of, or like just very welcoming. Mm-hmm. Only if you're like on the same page.
Exactly, that's what I'm going to ask you. Is there some sort of code of conduct written down somewhere, or has there ever been this establishment of the shared values?
Not yet. I think we were struggling with that in the past semester, just because there were a lot of changes, especially when Tom left us going to Leipzig. Shout out to Tom Lux.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
This person really, I don't know how their calendar looks like, because I've never seen anyone so dedicated to being organized.
Wow.
In like a very like functional way. You know what I mean?
It's a big asset for any group,
you know,
that tries to self-organize.
He was a psychologist, or is a psychologist.
psychologist.
Yeah, I think he's
a
becoming...
psychologist. I think that helps.
Yeah, that's why he left us. No, no, he's back in Germany. He's back in Germany. It's all good. He's back in Germany to do his studies. Shout out to you, Tom, if you're listening right now. Yeah.
All right, so it needs to there need to be shared values for sure, and but not so much. There needs to be a lot of willingness to put in your free time and your energy. Maybe there is also the need maybe to take responsibility for yourself when you see it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also sometimes a bit scary or like difficult to have those conversations, especially because we're all doing this on a voluntarily basis. So, and everyone, there's like this flat hierarchy, which I think is pretty cool in times like these, right? But yeah, it's not necessarily easy. And I think, how should I say that? I think I'm just very excited to see that there are a lot of people interested in still doing this project, like the Anonymous Ghost or Tilman or you know what I mean? And I think it's cool to see that projects are still going on. And I think in time like these, it's so important.
Yes, word up. You're absolutely right. So that's also why we get together now and share knowledge about the radio. And I think, Tilman, it also makes sense to look into maybe other cities or to maybe go back a little bit in time. I feel you're prepared to let us know some facts maybe also about community radio in general.
Yeah, so all of Europe was conquered by the Roman Empire, except one tiny little Gallic town which resisted the tech oligarchy. TikTokium, Uberium, Instagramum, and Twitchicum were kind of Twitchinum. Yes, yeah. They were all. These were fortresses around this small town. And like a bunch of people parked their small, tiny houses, aka trailer park, something rebellious community. And
this is so metaphorical.
Yeah, so I guess I wanted to give a small introduction into how community radios sort of appeared. Like the media itself. Radio is sort of this technology that came up in the 19th century. And from the very beginning, there was of course, you needed infrastructure to build it. So there's like big telephone companies setting up these radio towers. And then there was always like some small DIY people that started to also use it for experiments and to like also maybe they would not align to the interests of those people that set up these stations, so they started to broadcast themselves on FM at the beginning. So of course you would have to override these frequencies that would be illegal, which was at the beginning very hard to control because you have to find them. So you need to like special trackers to find out from where they were broadcasting. Small anecdote here, like in Amsterdam in some museum, there's this pirate radio going on at some point, and they set up a sculpture in the museum that sort of worked as a broadcasting tower. And after years, 2 or 3 years, they found out finally where it comes from, and then they stormed the basement of the museum, and the radio's gone. Similar, and on the G7 G7 meeting in Rostock in, I don't know, 2000, and there must be 6 or 7, 5, whatever. At that point, they used the fence that was shielding off the G7 meetings from the protesters. They used the fence to become the radio station, or the broadcasting tower. Nevertheless, these community radios are always some sort of emancipation on existing technology, because these technologies are bigger. Like right now, we're talking about the internet radio here right now, and the internet also is not a technology that we build, but we can appropriate to use for our own content. And so internet radio is sort of a specific category in this whole radio making. Because on some hand, it's basically just like some files flying through the internet, But on the other hand, it uses the radio format, which comes from pirate radios, which comes from FM stations, governmentally funded ones, or like in the US, there was a lot of like advertisement-based radio stations that were like these country music. The whole country music, for example, is totally accelerated by commercial companies kind of using country music as a media to transport their products. So if you look at internet radio in the 2000s, that's where it was kind of popular, because the internet suddenly, like, people learned about how to use it, and they're like, oh, okay, we can still use this format. Like, it's always the search for format, I guess. That's very interesting. A format where you can explore, and a format where you can like talk, and not just like send music and like some radio stations that I know that's started up, like for example there's this Soul Community Radio, which is a station that's started around 2010 or 11, which gone a nice, interesting road. And then also you have NTS Radio, you have all these sort of small DJ-run collectives that at some point decided, okay, we want to create a different thing. Like, it's a community. We want to share our knowledge of how this technology can be appropriate. So you always need people that like sort of are able to turn on a computer. The access is very low. If internet radio is very low compared to FM radio. It's very important to know here. Like, it's really easy to broadcast on TikTok and YouTube nowadays, and all these other platforms, but they were at some point in the internet not existing. So you had like open source technology like Icecast and other softwares where you can just like have a real-time communication. I think this whole real-time communication thing started with experiments even in the 60s during the whole Dada Fluxus movement with people like Baek Nam-jun, who started having live broadcasting shows around the earth and improvise together using radio as sort of like a telephone. You just call and both sides call up each other and then just like start jamming. With FM there was no delay. With internet radio it was always like a 30-second to 2-minute delay, which is kind of interesting if you think about it as an artist. So like you play a tone and 2 minutes later somebody plays the other tone. And then, well, of course, this whole thing became sort of established. You have stations like NTS also starting other formats like Boiler Room, which are more contemporary to what we know. Like, I think a starting point for a lot of us is these YouTube streaming channels and Twitch. We have like a very presence of the people that do it. And my motivation, that's why I like to do radio, is because there's no face, and it's about whatever you do. You can also, we talked about before, you can send silence, which is on FM you cannot do. If you show a black screen on a video, nobody's going to do anything with it. It's going to turn it off. But in radio, it allows people to access from different backgrounds and also talk about stuff that is not visual, which is sort of an interesting transition. It's like the limitation of the media. And I think also, especially Germany and Europe and the German-speaking community is very specific to this, because maybe that's a bit of a sidetrack here, but I think it's very important for me to understand radio, is that radio in Germany has a propaganda past. First radio stations in Germany were started through this radio which was distributed, actually a radio device by the German Nazi whatever propaganda, the Volksempfänger thingy. And after, of course, we know what happened there. And after the war, there was this whole community of war blind. The war blind started their own sort of foundation, and they had this annual, what's it called? An annual competition for radio plays, because they were not able to see. So they were really interested in what format can we use to tell our stories. And this war blind award is one of the highest radio play awards in Germany still, and they funded a lot of these like off-key formats and shows and productions. And this sort of, even the internet net radio scene kind of continued this tradition. Because you could always make a radio show for the internet, and there may be just 2 people listening, but you can just take the same format, send it to one of these competitions, and you get played on national radio. So I'm kind of losing track here.
Yeah, I think what we are taking from this so far is how diverse the medium itself is, how much you can do with it. I think you started out with speaking about the subversity of it, if that's a word, and then also coming to a propaganda tool, of course, and then there is a difference between FM broadcasting and online broadcasting, of course, and I think the possibilities we have are just so immense. You can get so creative. There can be talks, there can be music, but there can also be any experimental kinds of plays, for example, as when I don't know if you were going to drive at that, when people actually thought aliens had landed on the Earth when it was actually just a radio play. I don't know if you know that. It was some time back in the and it was in the UK, I think. But yeah, it got also really very real also, and to be honest, that's also one of my dreams to one time make a play like that to trick everybody.
Maybe it's one point that I want to sum up my small introduction, because of course you can ask me more shit about this. I really involved myself into this in various formats, and I helped a bunch of radios build up their technology. The fun thing for me is that it's sort of a counterculture approach. You take the technology, you make it accessible, and then you play around with it, and you keep that playfulness. There's no need to monetize necessarily. There's no need to fit a certain format, and it's also, you don't charge people to do it, which is very important if we think about how the internet evolved on in other formats. If you look at these platforms, they all sort of profit from you putting your content there, but they don't pay you shit. So that's why the tiny house metaphor was there before. You build your own, this is my independent island, this is my oil drilling platform in the Mediterranean. But you're okay, but then you pay $1 million a month, or you pay 20%, or we make money and we don't give you shit. And I think that's very important for us to maintain this attitude, also to, even if just a few people are listening, maintain this authorship and this ownership over the content. So a community radio, Res.Radio has a problem, because Res.Radio is not completely running in platform independent at the moment from a tech side. We are running through a service that helps us set up the streaming server, for example. But on the other hand, we're also relying on SoundCloud, which also profits from us and doesn't give us shit. But we started to, I think that's when I got more involved into helping out Res.Radio, is started to build our own infrastructures. And I think that's my key point of this whole thing is right now you see a lot of platforms are taken over by regulation shifting. And it was obvious because they were commercial interest platforms. We all treated them like they're a free space of expression for democracy, but they're not. They're benefiting a bunch of an elite of oligarchs.
So we think,
yes, it's an opportunity for us to build these things, educate ourselves about them, and meet in person, because these digital communities, my key take is all digital communities suck.
You're born a hater.
But I love
technology. Born a hater is what Miyra said from the off.
Yeah, but I like the dating platform aspect of it, because you can kind of, over this media, you can kind of make appointments and then just meet up in reality. So
I'm not sure if I'm getting you there, because first of all, important information to everybody in here. This is the smokers' room. If anybody needs to feel for a cigarette or some other smoke, go there. The other thing is, you always speak about this dialogue kind of way of radio, which I really don't understand, to be honest, because dialogue, it's a uni-directed way of communication, or isn't it? Am I getting something wrong?
Yes and no, because the media itself doesn't care which way you communicate.
As a Funkgerät is also a radio.
Yeah,
is that
but
what you're
there's
driving
also
at?
a sender, right?
Yeah,
so
sender
from a
and
technological side, it doesn't care. It's obviously more easy to just listen. If you want to send, you need to set up your own tech. And I was talking about the experimental side of it. Like we talked about COVID before, which sparked kind of these ideas like, oh, some people are in different places and we still have like, maybe use a Skype connection or a Zoom call and then broadcast that signal into the radio. So there's already a communication happening. So that's the dialogue that I want to encourage, and providing sort of tools or options or like just ideas how to expand it from just being a DJ set. I mean, that's the limit. I find DJ sets on radio actually to be the most boring format there is.
Now stop talking.
I'm done. It's important.
I actually wanted to also make another joke. Instead of thinking if we should all turn to Blue Sky or Mastodon, we should just all make our own community radio station. Is that what I took away?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, but I also think Blue Sky and these things are the right direction, because they are decentralized as well. So they have this embedded in their technology and in their DNA. They are not in one spot and then broadcasting from there, like top down, because you can also set up your own servers, and that's the whole beauty. It's so easy to set up these servers. We just don't know anymore.
Yeah,
because we are post-internet generation and we have no fucking idea how it works.
Not all of us is a developer, yeah.
Yeah, but it's also actually not hard to learn.
Teach me. I will. Miyra, is there anything you want to add to all of this? Any of this?
I just had thoughts about like DJ sets, which I do agree to a certain extent that it is a bit repetitive, but on the other hand, it's also like necessary because as we're all disappearing behind our screens, or have been in the past few years, I think certain and very important communities have been dying out. And I feel so like, cultural artifacts, as you just said, and that there's this whole gap, and maybe it's also like COVID induced, of like there's this whole gap just like missing.
I also think the curational aspect is really interesting.
From Res, you mean?
From like DJ sets compared to algorithms that propose us stuff.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that's also a reason why we should definitely have still DJ sets. That's also how I dig. I'm sorry, that's my secret. I just listen to everybody else's show. But I understand the point of view of like, yeah, it's kind of boring for me for our generation, so to say, because we also like met a different, or saw a different way of consuming music or listening to music and being connected on in a different way to other people. But I think now post-COVID, I definitely see the value of it more. But on the other hand, I think, because I also wanted to mention about like you talking about the online communities being a bit of like a difference to like the wave stations. I just heard yesterday, let me say on Instagram, I know, like from some person who is talking about underground culture, or like, I don't know, music scene all around the world. I don't know, just like it just popped up on my For You page. And apparently Boiler Room just got bought by some huge ass company that's I think, what's it called? A scale up, or no, it's not. I'm not into Excalibur City. No, it's I think KKR or something, and they're just like
a Bitcoin trading or something. Sounds like a Bitcoin trading fund or something.
I like Bitcoin trading.
Sounds like Excalibur.
Excalibur, yeah. No, it's I think KKR or something, and it's just a huge company that's profiting off underground culture, and I think that's a huge topic that we should be talking about in the future. Why radio station or like community stations like ours should become more relevant, and also maybe that people are maybe also motivated to, as you just said, to start their own. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's a weird irony there, which I thought about these last days with this whole capitalization of the content, because you have huge companies that profit on everybody's content and just pay them shit.
And even if you played below a certain amount, they just demonetize you in general. And then on the other hand, more structured places like this, which are actually really helpful for a community, for artists that are played there, then they are charged regular FM station fees to pay for the royalties, which in the end actually benefit the artists more directly than these big platforms, which they say, oh, it's just pirate culture, we just take this, the internet always gave this content for free, or it's your stupidity to broadcast anyway. So I think this is really important to see that, like, okay, yes, we are not able to pay the royalties as an FM station that is funded by the government, but on the other hand, you get gigs out of this much faster than if you would put your content on Spotify, for example.
Yeah, definitely. I think also, like, if you consider Res.Radio, also if you're a volunteer here, that's something I noticed when I started coming to the studio care work days, so to say. It's not a work day because it's volunteering, but you get to meet so many people and you get to talk to so many people from the music scene in Austria or in Vienna or like around the world. We have sometimes like people just popping in, chiming in from different countries, just visiting and contributing a show off, and that's how you also get connected. And that's also how I got into asking other people for their tracks, playing the tracks in the clubs or in different radio stations. So I feel like on the long run, definitely it's more profitable for the artist to maybe be shown
involved
here,
in the
exactly, or in web communities. But I think everyone just wants to see numbers as fast as possible. But that's how I honestly think that's like how the big bro tech gets you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just like they just pay you off now.
Not real connections.
Yeah.
And like I wanted to mention that before. For me, community radio is also like a platform to jump between cities, because you're somehow involved. You have your show, whatever your music you like, and then you're like thinking about, oh, I want to go to Marseille, or I want to go to Seoul, South Korea, and I just kind of want to figure out how do I get in the scene there. Like you mentioned, you come from Frankfurt here, and where do you start? Like you go to a place where there's other people meeting up in real life. Again, in real life.
Exactly.
I made this differentiation before. It's a mediator to meet up in real life, and so this is a big opportunity. Do you have a network that's opening up by interaction? So it's bi-directional.
I think that's also a huge part of a point I still want to state. We also had a discussion about like filming in the studio. I think we're partially 50-50 about it. And honestly, right now, like I was just thinking, like just play the freaking show. People shouldn't be watching us DJ. But I think I just understand when people want to have a video of them and their friend, whatever. I get it. It's cool. It's creative media. It's a cool memory and so on. I get it. I think on the long run, and it already happened, it just creates this fake sense of community and this fake sense of like we're all in the same music realm, because that's what we're just consuming the pictures instead of actually listening to what's happening and actually also like absorbing the vibes of whatever is trying, or not the vibe, I hate the word vibe, but I just use it. But the spirit of it, you know what I mean? Like you can't really capture the spirit by filming someone and then watch them in retrospective. But I mean, as in like how it's being portrayed now, like Boiler Room, for example, that's just like a fake sense of like how the club scene is supposed to be, apparently.
Have you ever been at a Boiler Room party?
In Vienna, but that was like before COVID.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like that's before COVID.
No, I've been to a bunch of Boiler Room parties because some of my friends are in the video production team in Berlin, and those were the most boring parties I ever attended in Berlin. But they work on screen. It's a studio format, which somehow has like an audience inside, but on site they don't work. It's just like very camera focused and not like this what you have of a club experience. I mean, that's where I think a lot of us come from. Club has this universality, like you find your own narrative for the night. It's gone there. So I don't say these formats don't make any sense, but I think the like shutting off one sense helps you to focus on the others. So the war blind again, full circle. Bam, I dropped.
Ghost?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, the connecting aspect of also in between community radios. So we started, of course, here in Vienna with 3 or 4 shows when we started, and then we expanded the network here in Vienna. But it was really, really nice aspect of the whole thing was that after some time, when people came to Vienna who were into community radio in different cities around the globe, they just looked up which kind of community radio is in Vienna, and then they wrote to us, hey, I'm in town, can I play at your station? And so this is really nice to get in touch when you are going somewhere and when you are kind of a community radio thing in your town and go somewhere else to write to those community radios in other cities to connect with people there and
sleep on couches, get some gigs.
Yeah, it's not
be shown the coolest bars.
Not couch surfing, but maybe music surfing. I don't know, but yeah, it's really nice. It started quite soon that people like as I'm responding to the emails, I can tell that it's like at least once a month that someone from another city, I don't know where from the globe, writes, hey, I'm in town, can I play at your station? That's really, really nice.
That's really cool. So we were touching on very, very different but important aspects of community radio that make it all come together as one, as we were speaking about the organization and the responsibility, but also about the technological aspects. And of course, it's always the democratization, and it's happening in the internet. So the whole cyberspace also really has a big impact on the product itself, so to say. I'm also learning many new things right now that I haven't really put a thought in before. But and what I've also seen is that from before, when we were speaking about how are you organized, it was always easier to speak about the troubles and about the struggles first. So maybe we should also give a little way for that and see what are the biggest difficulties you come across when really doing it. Because now we also got very theoretical and we got very philosophical also, but let's get back to practical maybe, because you also got this huge shift funding. I really appreciate about our discussion so far that we have actually also spoken about money a little bit. It's not so common in Austria, and also you have given numbers, and there is Mitgliedsbeiträge and so on. And obviously we see ourselves as this subversive, anti-capitalist organ that is just shouting values and voices out into the world. But in fact, we also in this capitalist framework of paying rent, for example.
Yeah, but you have to acknowledge that Res.Radio was able to survive before any funding for 5 years, and that's a big applause, I guess.
Give it up for Res.Radio! Woo, 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 woo!
I mean, literally trying to keep an anarchist group together for 5 years with non-defined code of conduct, no goals.
Especially in a culture where people are not really happy to have discussions. I think we should bring back discussions, man. I feel like it's ridiculous. You know, I see myself sometimes being like, no, I can't talk about, no, you can. We have to. I love you, man, but this is ridiculous. Yeah, okay. Here.
No, it's great what you're saying, and it definitely is also very important to be mentioned that wherever people work together and are striving for the same target, discussions need to be done, but also fundings need to be done. And I think this event is possible only because of the shift funding, as far as I get it for now. So maybe we can turn all of what we just said into a little glimpse into the future, or maybe Miyra, you can share with us what the shift funding will do for you, how you might have to restructure yourself, or what's there to come. I think you're getting me, I am trying to come to an end slowly, because of course we also want to have a little time for questions from the audience, if anybody has any questions coming up. But first, the funding and the shift thing. It's a huge thing. I know that it's not easy. It's not easy to get, and when you get it, you get a lot of money.
So honestly, I kind of stumbled into this whole shift situation. Till an intern.
Yeah, but what is the shift situation? I think like it's a bit abstract if you're not into the Viennese funding system. It's really hard to understand what.
So it's from Basis Shift Kultur, and they every 2 years they have an open call where you can just like hand in your project. It's all based on like community work or like decentralized work. Queer projects or projects that are dedicated to queerness, feminism, migration work, everything that might not have space in other fundings from the city or from the country. Especially, don't want to go into politics now. Whatever. This was before. Whatever. Anyway. Still, people are still listening. I don't know. And yeah, so we actually got them. It's actually crazy because I remember it was like Tom Febs is at the bar right now. Shout out to Febs. What's up? And I've never met Feb. Or we met before once or twice, but because I was like, I don't know, because everyone is like doing their own thing. That's the crazy thing about like being kind of an anarchy thing. Like everyone is kind of a loner. That's the thing. Everyone here is a loner, but then we find this common denominator of being like, okay, let's do this project. So the only reason I'm actually here talking to the microphone is because the others are not really comfortable talking in public spaces. So I don't want to take the credit. So if you have anything to add, just Fabs? No? Okay.
Fabs is turning red, looking away, not wanting to speak into the microphone, obviously.
I swear, like,
just
I'm
for
not...
all the listeners out there.
I swear, like, I'm not full of myself. It's just like in Vienna, people are not really stepping up to the stage. I don't know. Anyway, and so we got the money, and it was really interesting because we were just, like, brainstorming to the last second, I think. And I think we were just like, oh, we actually would be really happy if we got this money because then we could extend the essence of Res.Radio. And I think one thing about Res.Radio is also like it's so chill and low key that there is like not a lot of pre-planning to the future. We're just like, okay, let's see how we're gonna do this next month and how, you know what I mean? Like there is a running system, obviously, but it's
that's not how you get a shift funding.
I know. So it was very crazy when we just like sat together with Tom, the organization magician or like the master of organization. And I've never written a funding before. I think you haven't either. But I think it was really nice to do this and that we all were so motivated. Like us, we were all also like on vacation. Everyone was like gone while we were writing the funding. So like I had to do like the last bit. And I'm really only good when I'm under pressure. So I was crying and writing to everyone because the thing is also like, okay, that's also what I still wanted to mention before. It's like there's so many other people who have been at Res for so long, but now because they're becoming older and they have different responsibilities, they don't have the time.
1 or 2 years older?
No, like as in like, I'm beginning in my 30s being like, okay, I can have a little bit of time to put into this. And then I know other people who have children. You know what I mean?
Those children.
Or like career things going on of having to work 60 hours at some music thing. I'm talking about a person, but I don't want to say, I don't know, is it no. No, but I understand it. And also like, it's just like a lot of different generations. And so it's really hard to kind of pin down people and then also have this system going. But for some reason it works because everyone's constantly pitching in. And then when we got the funding, oh no, that's what I wanted to say. Sorry, I was derailing. And when I was writing the last bit of give me please more of the Prosecco. When I was finishing the funding, I remember just like panic calling the ghost and another ghost, being like, I need your signature. This is about I need you now. You have to hand it in like 2 hours. And I swear the fact that they were just like, okay, like chill. And they're like, okay, let's do this. Cause they're so used to being chill. And me like being a newbie in like the group, I was like, I don't want to fuck this up. You know what I mean? So I'm really happy that we got it. I'm really happy that they believe in us. And since then, I think the whole situation kind of switched because we're like, oh, we actually have to like do shit now. And since then, we're like meeting every week either online or in person. And yeah, just trying to get our shit together. And it's working. It's freaking working.
A question for me, like, how do you think it's going to affect how you run the radio from now on? Because like,
it's going to be very different, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
but not as
because like institutional funding, from my perspective, always shifts.
I get it.
Shifts the perspective slightly, because suddenly you like feel responsible to fulfill certain requirements that are actually in the text of your funding, which you were like writing under panic, kind of like, oh, let's put it all together, this is how we work. And you try to define something that was really undefinable and working by itself before. So that's interesting for me. Like, how do you see that? Like, danger of conformity.
That's exactly a point that I wanted to talk about as well, is like, suddenly when you get money, you suddenly feel obligated to do extremely more.
I'm sorry to say that, but you will not be able to pay it all back in the end, so you have to apply what you funded for. I mean,
and it's funny because our project is based on opening the radio community to people who don't have access to it. So there's this part of wanting to be welcoming and familiar and like low key, so people are not afraid to join an institution, because we're not an institution. But this whole project is not possible without that funding, right? So I think, yes, it's definitely, it's like walking on like a rope between two mountains, and you're just like constantly trying to be chill. As I don't even notice myself sometimes when I have conversations with Febs and the Ghost, because we sometimes have like finance stuff, talking about finance stuff, and I'm trying to be like, I don't want to like stress you out, like it's okay if we like, then I get really assertive, you know what I mean? And I get so uncomfortable because I'm like, this is not you, Miyra, this is not.
You're learning new sides of yourself as well, and learning the chillness of the older generation also. I think that's beautiful. It's
100%.
The generation, the founding generation. Sorry, there has been a change of generation, and that's fine and it's perfect. And it's,
I don't know if like 10-year age difference is a generation yet.
8.
2 years.
No.
I'm a late bloomer, to be honest.
This doesn't have to do anything with the cultural category of...
Cultural difference. Is this cultural difference?
No, but...
I'm from Vienna. The Ghost is also from Vienna.
From Niederösterreich.
That's the cultural difference.
Okay, let's not confuse everybody here, and let's not confuse the people out there who are hopefully still listening. If you are...
Refresh the page, by the way, if it's not working. Refresh the page.
We might be sorry.
Refresh the page.
Hey, we need a little bit more of discipline now to bring this to a proper end,
You know, the 70 TV program, and TV was still an experimental media. They had like these shows where they would invite ABBA, and they have them play their song, and then just like actually have them play playback, and then drop the record, because the radio hosts in Netherlands were so drunk they just tipped over the record player, and the band would just like kind of like freezing. Yeah, experimental radio and experimental television have a lot in common.
So this is a Dadaistic show, you mean? No, but when you were speaking about Ghost, what do you have to add?
Only about generations. It's not about the generations in terms of, so if you're doing that like for a couple of years on the volunteer base and besides some other business you do, I think it's more about like, I'm doing it since 2019, and I'm the only one still doing it from the funders. So there's a need for fresh energy from time to time. So that's why it's very important constantly bringing new people into this.
And that's why, sorry to interrupt you now.
That's about the generational aspect, I think.
And that's exactly why I hated it so much, that you all hated on me so much when I was using that category. Because what is more beautiful than knowing this project might in 20 years still be alive without any of you who are involved right now still doing it. And that's why the generation passover is just an important thing. And also, I would love to involve the audience at some point soon.
I just wanted to say, because of the age thing, honestly, I've never seen someone so chill about things, and I'm learning so much. So it wasn't like an attack. It was just like, okay, I'm learning how to chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? That's all I want to say.
All right. Everybody is chill. Everybody is as young as they feel. A generation can be defined differently. Are there any questions in the audience?
It's not an age thing, it's an experience thing. Okay, let's go.
I totally forgot what this whole thing is about. Are we still on the radio?
I'm not sure either, to be honest.
But maybe we ask the audience why they are here, maybe, and then from that the questions will automatically.
Maybe they also have questions.
Yes. So,
without any impulse, or with this impulse we just gave them for the last hour. My impulse would be to give the
microphone around and see what happens.
I think I have the one with the longer cable. Is there anybody who wants to say something? It doesn't also have to be a question. It can also just be some appreciation, also critique or ideas or thoughts you had while you were listening to us, maybe.
Any frequent Res Radio listeners here? Any frequent Res Radio listeners here?
I see some frequent Res Radio hosts.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let me take this microphone over here.
Hi everyone, and I'm kind of like a fresh energy at Res.Radio. I attend Res.Radio. Oh no, you make me blush, stop. So,
nobody can see it on the radio.
And everything what I want to say is that I really appreciate being part of such a community, because like you can be whoever you are here, like no fear, no scare, you can express yourself and do what you really want to do. So thank you guys.
Thank you, that's worth an applause. And yeah, the self-expression has always has been mentioned a lot, and I think it's also for me a very important aspect of making shows.
I see. I see something. I hear something.
Someone, to be more precise. Well,
more blurry.
We're
it's
all
okay.
humans.
It's okay.
You know that, Tilman.
Yeah, so my name is Masha Bielka. If you listen to Res Radio, you might know my voice already, because I stopped talking before my turntablista showcases for a while, because it's quite annoying to see the voice before the music starts. But anyway, I just wanted to add something that I live in Vienna for 70 years now, and in fact, I was doing a Vienna studio of RTS FM radio for 5 years before Boiler Room came. RTS FM, it was a very hype television, and we had around 21,000 members on our network, and everybody wanted to play there. And in fact, this is how I met all DJs and all promoters in Vienna, because I was hosting this studio. But what is more important, when I came to Vienna, I didn't know where to go. And if you're an immigrant or expat, let's say so, in Vienna, it's quite hard to integrate yourself in certain circles. If you want to get to know people, it's really not easy. So if you remember, there was a Play FM studio at the Museumsquartier. So I went there and I got to know one of the most interesting and active people in this city. So I think having this studio is very important for the country and for people to get to know each other. And I'm not escalating, it's really like that. And I'm really appreciating that you started to make parties and where people can come and get to know each other. It is very important for people who just came to Austria. Believe me, it's so hard to get to know and to get new friends here. I don't know why, I'm still figuring out, but... And I also wanted to share my experience. When I worked at RTS FM Vienna for many years, Vienna studio, I had problems with the centralization of the office. As you might remember, if someone of my generation, let's say so, RTS FM was a Russian network, and the main office was in Moscow. And I had to talk about the lineup before each show. I had to send an email, and the guy who sits in Moscow had to write me an email. Yes, this guy or girl will play, and this one will not. And it was quite annoying. Even I was arrogant enough to believe that my music taste was much more fancy and educated than the guy was sitting there and not having a chance to travel anywhere. So why I'm saying this, I really appreciate this freedom and like this flat hierarchy you have here. The disadvantages that many things might take time to, and the decisions can be really difficult to make, but this approach has a perspective, also on a political view, let's say so. So I believe that this constant change of members, because each year, I'm here from the very beginning, from 2019, yes. Each time I come to the studio, I see new faces, and I really like it. It has the future. So guys, I wish you good luck, and from the bottom of my heart, let's say so. So let's applause for Res.Radio.
I could add kind of a similar topic. I am Anya. I'm also part of Res.Radio since September, and I'm from Belgrade. In Belgrade, I always knew where to go. I was part of the scene. I had an online magazine for 10 years, and it's my wish that Res survives, unlike my online magazine. We all found jobs, and we were no longer students with a lot of time, so the website is now fucked up and not a great place, but we're working on it. But yeah, I moved then to Graz, and in Graz I really struggled to find what people like to call the third place. Somewhere that's not your home and not your work, where you can go and hang out with people. And in Vienna, I moved, and I was like, yeah, it would be cool if I could do radio again, because I used to do it in Belgrade. And I kind of Googled, community radios, and found Res, and had it in the back of my mind. And then one morning I was in Barcelona, and I woke up, and Res had this open call for new joiners. I was like, yeah, cool, let me just try. And I honestly had a feeling I'll have an interview or something, but then it was just a meeting where I joined, and then the next week there was already something happening. So for me, Res has become this third place that I didn't have since I moved to Austria. So thank you to everyone, and I invite everyone who is looking for something like that to try it.
Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing these heartwarming stories. That's really nice, and also really puts our life here all together into perspective. When you speak about censorship and free speech, of course, I think we might also be a little bit too privileged and forget about that as well, because basically nobody will stop us from broadcasting whatever we want to broadcast. Does anybody want to take the microphone from Anya? Any more heartwarming stories, maybe? Also questions? Not at the moment, that's fine. Wünsche, music wishes. Do you have your jukebox with you, or how do you feel that we can cater to wishes now? No.
I was asked a couple of times when doing Res Radio shows not to play my music. No.
So, you're more the experimental type of person when it comes to radio. Unpredictable. Okay, I think we feel that by now. Anything else that we haven't spoken about that might have been a topic in our preparation talk?
A little advertisement for the project.
Sorry to grab the microphone again, but exactly, you were speaking about the shift funding and saying how hard it was, and speaking a bit about your ways of working, but not really precisely about the next things, like where to come back to again, how to be part of Res.Radio, and I mean, obviously there is the party tonight at Celeste. I think you have already heard about that. It's not part of the shift funding, it's a community party, but probably not so coincidental that it was on the same day.
It's very efficient to have
synergies.
Yeah, synergies. You're invited to join us afterwards at Celeste after this event. It starts this event ends at 10 p.m. and then there's still open decks. I hope some of you brought your USB with you. and then afterwards Celeste also starts at 10. Yeah, and DJs from the Res will be playing. So yeah, you should definitely join later. Concerning the rest shift or reshift, rest shift, reshift. Can you see it? So we will have monthly events like these, switching between panel talks or open days like today, skill sharing days, and movie nights. Yeah? Do you want to say it? No, you say it.
So next month at the 28th, we will start promoting it, but we have a skill sharing session with Masha Dabelka from Turntablista here at the studio, where she will give some crash course about DJing and vinyl DJing especially, but maybe some digital stuff as well if wanted. But yeah, so we will have some monthly stuff for the next 1.5 years. So the shift funding is going till June 2026, and so we have a monthly event here and also some radio days at off locations.
Concerning the radio days, not taking place here at the Res Studio, we will also have Masha back, but you were invited. So if you can't make it to the one in February to our day here at the studio, just follow us on Instagram with res.radio. We will update the page soon with our following timetables for March. So keep that in your eye. Can you say that? I think I'm getting a bit drunk right now.
No,
excuse me, Mena was close to giving me the prosecco.
Yeah, that's not us.
No.
That's
that's water. Okay.
That's the ghost. A quick thing that I had on my mind the whole time.
Means we have to finish.
Yeah. So just the call, because there was a lot on contributing music and again tech pro position role. No, I was thinking a lot about, like, because there's this bus ratio, right? Like how many people have to die until the company or the concept kind of dies. I try to keep this really high, the number, so in case, for example, I die, there's at least the ghost and 2 or 3 other people that can download all the data that is there. But maybe there's like any interest in people that want to learn anything about how the basic technology of the radio works. Contact Res.Radio and then we'll fit in something. Maybe the shift.
Could maybe do an open day
maybe
with
the shift, like,
Mandy Mozart.
Yeah, could also just share some how to do that stuff and how to expand it or use it for your own experiments.
Honestly, that'd be sick.
Yeah, we can do a special day for that, but for now there was also a question if we show the studio, so if anyone is interested, where we're broadcasting from actually on a regular basis and how it's working, we can do a quick introduction also after this talk.
Which will soon be finished. Just one more thing, you said that'd be sick, so that means it's actually not all confirmed yet what is going to happen. Is it also open for people to bring in ideas? Or
I'm already getting ahead of myself with grabbing the microphone from your hand. So for the first 3 months, we are actually really planning for the timetables and who we're inviting. But in the future, especially people from the Res Radio, like you, Mena, we're open to have a collaboration. I think it's just for the first 3 months because we're also like we're chill guys in the panic mode of just like getting this project started. So we can also like estimate what we actually need, especially from on the logistics side. I think it's a new challenge which we're really open to. But I feel like for now, for the next 3 months, we're already good. But after, and we also will have an open call. But we'll post about that on Instagram in the next coming weeks. So for people who are not actually related in contact with Res Radio, but they still want to produce a show or just want to, read a poem maybe, or send in a DJ set or whatever, just contribute for the first time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you, Miyra. Thank you, Tilman. Thank you all for contributing. Thank you for staying so long. Thank you for listening. I think we saw how diverse and how experimental radio as a medium can be, but also how strong the Res.Radio community is and how worth this project is to be still surviving in 10 or 20 years. And I'm glad that we could start to reason about that a little bit today, even though, of course, there's always a lot more to speak about. Anything else? Or otherwise, I would...
Last thing, if you want to volunteer, DM us, email us, and if you don't want to volunteer, but you want to kind of contribute, donate the fucking money. Or do a show. We're always open for shows, DJ shows, but also especially talk shows. I think that's something we need to stock up on. Opinion shows, like bring the podcasts back.
We can do that.
Reactions.
Okay. Let's brainstorm later without the microphones. Thank you so much for everybody out there who tuned in. Thank you all for being here, and I hope we enjoy a wonderful night together, and see you later at Celeste.
That was quite some fun, right? So I hope you enjoyed this repodcast. And yes, please tune back in as soon as I have new material for you. I'll keep you updated in my newsletter, or you can go to the blog. Make sure to check out Res.Radio. They have a whole bunch of really amazing workshops coming up where you can learn about how to make radio, how to make podcasts, how to play music, how to program, how to meet up, how to link in the art scene, how to just about anything that could be useful in these times of self-organization. It's sort of like a prepper program. On the other hand, stay active, go vote, fuck Nazis, and stay true. This is yours. It's okay not to be okay. Mandy Mozart, Tilman Porschütz, Aesthetical Therapy, over and out. This is just mic test, love. This is a new mic I got. I love it. Really love this new mic. So I'll be broadcasting next time, potentially even already from Berlin. I'm having a residency there, so you're gonna catch me in Berlin. Whoop whoop. If you listen to this podcast to this point, I'm coming back to the Big Bear.